Welcome everyone, welcome to Château de Dampierre, a domain that I bought 3.5 years ago in an auction. And it's very interesting to see actually how it evolves. It's like kids. You never see them growing. And what is very interesting to see now is to just take a step back and look at it with the before-after pictures and just see, oh wow, finally we did some journey. And we're going to see the gate, the restoration. We're going to see the Châtelet restoration with all the monument historique part that was actually started last year and it's supposed to finish next year. We're going to see the part of the garden. We're going to see the chateau where we didn't do renovation yet, but where we did a lot of cleaning to actually see how the structure is and restore it even better. We're going to see also the pavilion in the end and see how we transform these two little places into livable places that are going to be super nice to wait till the whole construction and restoration is done, because it's very important to create a little cocoon where you can actually live. Actually, that was an advice I get from people who had a house before. Make sure that you don't live in the middle of the mess. Prepare yourself a place that you enjoy to go, otherwise you're going to be disgusted. So that's what I did, and I'm pretty happy to come here and continue the restoration because I have a safe place. And we're going to finish with the restoration of the stables. The horses are not here, but should be here within a month. And this is the most striking part because we built something. The rest we restored, but that part we built a twin building that is exactly the same architecture and style at the building that was actually existing before. Let's start with the gate. The gate is 18th century gate from École de Nancy. Why? Because in Nancy it was this people very specialized in metal that were doing all these cast iron things and also all the metal decoration. And you can see part of this job that is very similar as this one in Place Stanislas in Nancy. That is a beautiful place where you have incredible metal work with a lot of gold. And actually when we had the gate in the first place, it was all blue. That was not really like a historical color. And we did some carving and some tests to see what kind of color was before. And we discovered that it was like plenty of colors. We even had like some red color. And we discovered also that it was some gold. So we decided to restore it the way it was done in the 18th century and the way it is done in Place de Nancy, in Place Stanislas in Nancy. So if you come closer, you're going to see the restoration, complete restoration that was done very nicely with all this technique where you can see nails is not sticking with metal, is actually nails. So this is really typical of the work, of the metal work of the 18th century. And you can see all the gold parts. That was a struggle. Because the people who restored it in the first place, the metalwork was really well done, but all the paintings and the gold part was actually very badly done, and they kind of tried to screw me, putting some paint on it. But I was not an idiot and I noticed it, even if it's not really my field of expertise. But still, I could tell that it was not normal. And after a little discussion, we asked someone called Nicolas Delars, that is a really trustful person, who came here for 2 weeks with all his team and restored all the golden parts and did it properly, a French way, with removing all the rust, cleaned it, put protection, put a base of ochre, of a yellow, to give a very nice color to the gold leaf on top. We also have technology. It's not only historical. Technology because we can open the gate with an electric device. You have an app on the phone and you can open and close it. And I'm very proud of it because we didn't choose the cheap way. We did the high way, which is the way with no arm outside that you can see. Is all made in the floor and is actually spinning from inside. So you don't see any of the technical part and is very discreet, and I think is much more respecting the masterpiece of the metalwork. We're on the shade of the Châtelet. It's pretty appreciable. Here, the transformation and the restoration was all about cleaning and changing the stones, because over the years the mold and the vegetals were just like sticking on the walls and giving like a black dark finish. And I'm pretty surprised actually to see how clear and light the stone is under it. So it gives a very nice impression of freshness. That's going to get a bit of patina and harmony over the years. I cannot wait for that. And we're going to go inside and see how the restoration evolved inside. The facade of the Château was restored pretty strongly. We had to clean first, and then we had to change a couple of stones that were really injured. That one, for instance, that you can see all the carving is much clean and clear than that part. I guess in a couple of years it's going to kind of match, because this stone is pretty fragile, it's made of chalk. There is parts that we didn't change, we kept the way it was because it was in pretty good condition, especially all the carving with the two babies. It was just super clean, we can see it better, and all the joints will have to be restored very soon. But this part will be kind of done in a couple of weeks, I guess. Now we're going to get in. This is a tower that allows the access to all the building, is the only way. All the steps were actually before with the wood paneling to make sure it was perfectly straight. I was not really fond of it, and I prefer the carved and the carved over the centuries style that is just showing that people with probably metallic shoes were going up and down and up and down and up and down, and now this is the result of it. It's probably much more dangerous, but you know what? When you buy a castle, you live dangerously. In here, the walls were red. It was a bit aggressive, and we had so many stones to change, so we decided to remove the red to clean it. We kept all the writing 1940. I mean, it's definitely like a book written on the walls in here. And this will be, again, the color of the stone, which is like kind of white. This is going to be the dining room. We restored all the joints because the colors were not good, and when you put the patine on top, it doesn't show, I mean, it shows too much. Here we removed all the yellow part that is gone now, and we get back all the color of the original stone. That is very interesting. I like the yellow color, but Monument Historique preferred the original one, so we're going to keep it that way. This area is completely restored. It's one of the circulations. You can see all the restoration of the walls. You can see that there is some stones that are not exactly the same type. So this kind of patine, this kind of little product you put on top based on show is actually very nice because it gives like an impression of uniformity, which is kind of nice in such a place. And also it keeps the transparency of the stones, so you can still see all the design of each stone, and still you can see all the writing and little messages the people before left on the walls. There is a couple of writings that I personally removed. It was one that was very sexual, I'm not going to tell you, and another one that was just like, I love Hitler. And I was not feeling super good leaving that one, even if it's part of history, because the Châtelet was actually the Château de Dampierre during the Second War was one of the places where they trained the SS. So definitely Hitler was very present here. He was really here, and his spirit was probably here, and his philosophy was definitely followed here. But still is not something I want to have under my nose when I go to bed. This is one of the rooms where we had must work to do, because someone stole back in the days a part of the fireplace of the chimney, and everything was collapsing because it was not adapted, and the stereotomy, which is like the organization of the stones for it to stand by itself, was actually wrong, so everything was falling apart. So it was like a lot of wood to maintain, scaffoldings to make sure it didn't collapse. And what is happening now is we changed completely this part with the stone, and now is actually holding by itself, hopefully for the next centuries. Let's see. I'm not going to be here to check, but still, I hope it's going to be that way. And also there is this corbeau, this part of a stone that was replicated with that one. Because originally when we found it, it was not carved like this, probably was stolen. Now it's back, but a new version. Follow me to the toilet, to the bathroom, come. This used to be the middle-aged bathroom. How fancy. Stone to put your butt on. It's incredible, no? We restored it the way it was, with the hole where you could sit, and it was just like a big tube and a big hole under it to make sure all the things were going away. Here we have the version of the windows that are going to be here everywhere. It was supposed to be here a couple of months ago, but on the whole building, but it was not. And this is one of the samples we have. Is made of oak, and we have a double glass. One part is normal, the other one is made of tinted window with some metal in between to just stick all together, like tinted windows in churches. It's the way it was done in the Middle Age. We arrive to the top floor. They say it's going to be done in a month. I don't really believe in them. Can we trust them? I don't know. Here we are on the attic of the Chateau. We did some protection for the heat not to go out. Here we're going to have a wood paneling covering the entire ceiling. So behind it we can hide all the insulation to make sure it can be a livable area. Originally, when we found the place, it was no wood paneling, so you had access to all the frame that was pretty spectacular. But actually we find all the little nails on the wood, showing that probably some wood paneling was installed before. So this is what we're going to restore, this kind of a boat shape made of wood, like we can find in the north of France in certain churches. And here is going to be like a living room. The miroir d'eau, water mirror, is one of the striking before and after, because honestly when I arrived you really had to know that it was an area with water over there, because everything was so muddy that you couldn't even see it. There is the river arriving there, and basically the river when you arrived was just like arriving to the waterfall with no shape. So we had to clean everything, restore all the walls around to actually give back the initial shape of the miroir d'eau. And that was actually more work than expected. So instead of spending like 2 weeks as I thought, it was more like a 2-month job. And we had, when I say we, it's not really we, but you understand. We had to remove everything that was inside, all the mud, to clean it all, and to restore all the walls, to put the water back. The water is actually provided by the river. And we had to also, you can see now, you have really like a mirror effect. But from here, you can see also, we restored this little bridge that is very cute. It's more Eiffel bridge that was not really here before, but we created that, giving this very nice aspect of something that doesn't show too much and is really very coherent with the waterfall behind, because it's going to be a turbine behind. So it's really something that was installed at the beginning of the 20th century at the Eiffel period. So we restored the Eiffel bridge. Another one of my favorite before and after picture is actually the Parterre Est, the east garden. Why? Because it was very important to kind of restore it first, because it was a lot of money to spend, but it was, I think, money well spent, you tell me. Because the sooner the better for the garden, because it has time to actually grow and show some results. Because if you do that in the end, you never enjoy it. Because while you do the building and the restoration, the garden is actually maturing, and this is very pleasant, because when you're ready to install yourself in the house, the garden is already ready and it looks good. Here was a parterre, a garden that was pretty flat with no structure. It was trees, of course, and you could kind of guess the shape, but you had nothing to actually surline this shape. So the whole point of this restoration was to restore properly the fountain in the middle, to put again the symmetry and the axe of the garden and of the whole property, and to, of course, create some structure between the garden, that is kind of a formal garden, and the rest of the nature and the forest. That's why we continued the double tilleul alignment, and with the buxus we did, actually taxus, sorry. With the taxus we had to do a shape that was kind of embracing the shape, the round shape of the fountain, but open to a second room that is behind, that is like intermediary between the main garden and the forest, with Diana. She's not the queen, but she's the goddess of the forest. So she's there, very happy, looking at the house, being a little bit in the forest and a little bit in the garden at the same time. All the walls were also restored. This is kind of the job that doesn't really show, but that was actually huge and major, because it took so much time and money to restore that kind of walls. These walls are not made of perfect stone. They are not like stone of a facade. They are stone that are a bit more hectic. So they are not stone that are supposed to be showed. So we had to plant some charmilles in front, these plants, to cover and to hide this kind of walls. And here we had that pillar, but we didn't have the statue on top. So we had to find a statue, and we find a statue that was actually the perfect match. I mean, this is a match made in heaven, right? It's just the perfect size. So we restored that with this beautiful stone sphinx. And here we restore also the little chain that was going from one pillar to the other. Oh, this is the main house. Let's get inside, no? Let's gonna see like what's new in there. We are inside of the main house, the Chateau, designed by Mansart, and you expect to have nice restoration, but actually we did the way around. We destroyed so much, so it's a bit disappointing for you. But it's very important to go through this phase, because this is the moment you can actually see the structure and understand better the building, to make sure that when you restore it the proper way, especially for all the structure. Here we removed all the floor to understand if we could have enough space between here and there to have all the system to actually put the heating system on the floor. Same for here. We removed all the walls, we removed the floor, and we can see the space better. We had to do some sondage on the ceiling to make sure of the structure and how it was done. And here we did some sondage also on the walls, because here and there is going to be the two windows going to be reopened soon, hopefully. The staircase, my favorite room in the entire house and domain, is spectacular, but needs to be even more. If we can remove this pillar, we are working now to make sure it can stand. If we remove it, doing some reinforcement, and all the Art Deco parts that was installed. I don't hate it, to be honest, but it was not just what it was here originally, and it was listed before they did all the Art Deco style. So we're going to get back to this kind of sample that was actually the proper original stone. And here is where we really destroyed everything, but I was not really fan of what it was here before. It was a corridor that was turning, spinning around, and had no sense. And now we're gonna see better, see what can be moved and cannot be moved, what can be changed and what cannot be changed, what's still good and not still good. And we can reorganize actually a corridor that is going to be on this part of the facade, on the east side, running from one side to the other side of the castle. And now from the less restored area, we're going to go to the most restored area, which are the pavilions. And here are the pavilions, which are the only livable place on the entire domain. Here was actually a little house of one of the keepers of the domain before, but it was literally 4 rooms in this actual room, Now we transform it into like a living room with a little salon, little dining room, and the kitchen. Downstairs is a big bedroom now with a view on the little garden. That used to be nothing. It was just mud on the floor, and it was transformed with all the tomates and the tiles that is original, but not original from here, original from somewhere else, but we brought it here. And we're going to go and see the bedrooms upstairs only. Arriving to the first floor of the pavilions, where we have the 2 bedrooms and a bathroom. My favorite one is a green room. Green room because, guess what? It's green. With cast PMR, which are like the monument historique allowed windows you can install on a monument historique made of cast. And the bathroom here, that didn't exist because it was just the attic of this building with a bath and the Sloan paper that was sticking on the walls. And here, the pink room, that is pink, and all the organization of this room exactly twin with the green one. The same shape, same organization, was easier to do. Here is a pavilion garden, is kind of a little abbey garden because it's very close, it's very intimate. Here we have the chance to see it from above, so we see very well the shape of it and the geometry of it. It was made by Dan Cuivers and I, and you can see like big Annabelles, hydrangeas, and very happy in here because they grow from 20 centimeters to almost 2 meters every year. So they must be very, very happy. It adds so much charm to the place that I find this is one of my pride. Let's go to the North Pavilion. The twin pavilion, exactly the same as the other one. We restored completely the stone outside to clean it perfectly. We have the 2 planters of Saint-Almont that I did a benchmark, and I have to say they are the best quality and price balance. So that's the one I choose. And let's get in. Inside is a fresh winter garden that is very nice and to use during the winter and also the summer for the dinners. The lighting is perfect. You have plants everywhere that are growing on the walls made of treillage and covered with this wood, with this very special color called vert reseda, that is the original one. And this arch in the middle that gives a little bit of space with 3 different areas like that. A fireplace in here that is not really used because in the winter we have some heating system already for the plants to grow and be happy, but we can tell with the fern that are really happy. Little collection of malicorne, which is a ceramic from the south of France, and some books that you can read in here and there. This one, for instance. I didn't choose it only for the color. It's a book from the last book from Timothy Corrigan, the famous architect, that is doing a great job. The cover match perfectly the colors of the place, but also there is many very interesting things inside. From this place we can go, if you want, to the stables to visit and see the before and after. That is very striking. We are leaving the domain and arrive in the part that was not part of the domain when I bought it. So I had to buy the little house that was here. And this is one of the before and after that I prefer, because we had to build a place and we had to imagine a new system around to continue what was probably here before, meaning a big highway. It was a big path that was probably a couple of kilometers long, that was coming from the fields and arriving to the gate and the alley with an axe, and the axe was actually the one from east to west that is typical of this kind of castle. And to align this axe, we build it in symmetry, a new house that is going to be part of the stables. Is going to be all the technical parts with a little house to host the person that's going to take care of the groom who's going to take care of the horses, and also the mowing machine, and also all the material that you need to store, because there was no storage in this house. It was all the storage were in a building that was destroyed in the beginning of the 20th century, and so it was no storage. It's a blessing that we don't have this storage anymore with what we call the commun, where you had like all the farm actually, because usually they builded buildings that were bigger than the actual house, so it's so much maintenance for now. So we didn't have it, but we had to create it. So now we created something more modern that is not the shape and the size what it was needed before, but something that is much more actual, so we can actually reduce the dimension, and is much better because we can actually hold it and maintain it properly without spending fortune in the restoration. So we have these two buildings now. We can see with the before and after picture that it was actually one little house with nothing special, and now we recreated this axe with this sense of symmetry. Maybe it's too much, I don't know, but I kind of like it. But I was wondering some point, you know, like you're always doubting, maybe it's too much, maybe it's good. And I was doubting lately, and I was thinking maybe it's less charming. But well, now he's here, and I think I like it. But let's go inside and see how we transformed this house that was a habitation. People were living in there, and we turned it into, but I mean, it was literally falling apart. But I bought it and we transformed it completely. We transformed the frame, we transformed everything to create a space that would be adapted for horses. So follow me. It's fresher in here. Here is the stable inside. It's pretty, I'm always amazed to see actually how we turned this place that was like 2.5 meters high ceiling into a space that is much higher, where actually horses can stand, and with a circulation just in front for the doors to open and the horse to go. So we created all this with wood made of oak, in a style that is mainly 18th century style. So the horses can stay here, it's fresher for the winter, is good, the summer is good, and for the winter is warm. And we're going to go here in the tack room where we stock all the saddles and the leather. I like this place a lot because it's inspiration of a lot of journey and travel and places I went for inspiration, and I probably visited all the stables that France can have, and I was taking some measurement pictures to make sure I was doing something that was kind of okay and had sense. And we arrive here in the spa for the horses with this nice thing from the probably like 18th century from Pyrenees, where I'm from. And this is the area where the horse is going to stand, and we can see with the before-after picture that we created a bigger opening on the wall, so actually the horse can get in. And also the view is completely different. You can tell that before it was just a little building that was falling apart, and now we restored the wall completely. We created this, we restored this very nice fountain that is a replica of the one that is in Brécy, in Château de Brécy. And we created this little garden. If you want more details about this restoration, I have a YouTube channel if you like, and you can go and click on this link and see a video with more details about the restoration of the stables.